Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. I'm back doing another episode of Where Are They Now? And for those of you who hadn't heard the first few episodes, and now a lot of episodes of this series, I will recap. As you know, I coach a lot of people. And of course, you've heard me coaching people live on this podcast with my Coaching with Kimmy episodes. And I have a ton of clients who I send off into the world after coaching them. And it's so amazing and rewarding when I hear countless success stories and read thousands of emails of previous clients updating me on how their life has improved and how they often find love. So I do Where Are They Now episodes to inspire and motivate you by hearing what happens to people after I work with them, whether that is on a podcast or working with them over time as clients. And I hope you listen to these and get inspired by people's successes and know that success can happen to you too, even during quarantine. And I will, look, this all starts with a call often. And today I'm bringing on an amazing woman whose journey started with hopping on a call with me. Gosh, this was around 2 years ago. It was amazing for me to kind of look back after, thinking of this. And then she was referred to me from another friend that I had helped. And that's the chain of events and how we got to each other. And she decided to invest in coaching with me because she realized a lot of her childhood pains were impacting her ability to find a healthy relationship. And she felt like she was sociable and, was dating here and there. However, she saw that she was attracting the wrong guys. And she tended to get into relationships where she would never get her needs met and with men who treated her poorly. And she had developed a limiting belief that she wasn't good enough and found herself accepting crumbs just to try and gain a semblance of validation and attention. And by the time she picked up that phone for the first time we talked, she was in a place where she really didn't think she deserved a good relationship. And the things that we had uncovered had to do with her confidence would just go up and down. She would shape shift into, just being something that she was not, just to please the guy. She definitely had like some anxious attachment stuff going on. And she was just used to, taking those crumbs. And I was saying to her, you deserve the cake. And so after doing a ton of work on various programs that I offered, she has shifted beyond her wildest dreams. And she started to learn to date differently, increase her self-worth. And because of that, she has attracted a new amazing man into her life. I just got the text the other day. I'm like, you got to come on and share your story. And she recently said to me, dreams do come true, but it does take work, accountability, and motivation to get there. Welcome, Meredith.
Hi, Kim. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I got chills as I was just, thinking back to when I first met you. And right before we started recording, you were showing me all your notes of the things that you were reflecting on. And right. Like it's hard to even fathom how you got here. But this is what I tell people all the time is that it can be really overwhelming when you're first thinking about just changing your life. But what I love about you is that you really pulled in, and by just focusing on these little things that we were working on, it was like the marathon. You were exercising those muscles, and before you knew it, you got to the finish line, and you're like, and then you realize, oh my gosh, how did I get here? But after reflecting on all of this, you realize how much work you have done. So anyway, I would love for you to just like introduce
100%.
yourself. Yeah. And let everyone know. I mean, I recap, but just in your own words, just who you are. And if you remember going back in time, what life was like before you picked up that phone.
I had a friend that had talked about you for a few weeks, and she was getting back out there. And I just was at a point in my life and in my dating life where I almost felt hopeless. It was about a year after a long-term relationship that was 3 years long, but it was long distance, and I never got my needs met in that relationship. It was all about him and me visiting
Mm.
him and me doing things for him, and I and he had gaslighted me so many times, and anytime I had a need, he made it sound absolutely ridiculous. Oh, he was perfect. And so I just was in a place of very low self-worth, low self-esteem, really confused, didn't even really, I didn't know where to begin. And I think when I started talking to you, it was just this journey of realizing that I had developed um, a lot of bad habits, not bad habits, habits that got me through childhood and through, a family that was, I have a brother who suffers from mental illness, who was not easy to grow up with. And I had just developed these habits and fearfulness maybe of men, and just seeking love for men too, because I craved that. But they were just playing out in my adulthood in ways that, I wasn't even thinking about, that you helped me recognize. And we, um, I guess, moved my mindset over time from just being this kind of wounded animal that had,
Mhm.
you know, I've been successful in work and career. I am divorced, and, I'm a single mom, so I'm used to doing everything myself. But, I had become a wounded animal, like I was never going to find love again or anything. And, you helped me spin everything into a way where I was able to see how awesome and unique I am and see what I had to offer. And then start becoming positive and being fun again, and flirting with men and not taking it so seriously. Like every relationship, was like live or die. Like this one has to be, Mr. Right, or I'll just lose my mind. And then, I learned to calm down, get to know the person, let them give a little to you. And yeah, and so just basic stuff. Like now, I'm aware of my feelings. That was one of our first exercises,
Oh, yeah.
was, hey, what are you feeling? And I'm like, I have no idea, because I'm always making sure everyone else in the room is happy. What's the guy feeling? Am I, ooh, do I look good? Am I saying the right thing? Is he having a great time? And then I'd come home from a date and be like, did I have a good time? Like, I was so busy thinking about other people.
I just want to comment on some of the things you're saying. And I think that was the biggest, I mean, I think light bulb. I remember, you kind of going through when those aha moments when you started realizing, wow, I'm not even aware of how I feel. And therefore you kept attracting takers or fixer
Mhm.
uppers or narcissists, people who needed that attention. And when you started switching it, you started noticing just a difference in the way you were dating. Because I think that's something
Mhm.
that's really powerful for people to hear, is that you're not always conscious of the behaviors and the things that you're doing that might attract a certain person. So, like, do you remember some of those behaviors that you used to do? I mean, one of the things you were talking about was that you were kind of like conscious about how you looked and if he was having a good time. Like, what else, were you doing back then?
Not speaking my mind. If something
Mhm.
made me uncomfortable, I wouldn't speak up. I would go with the flow. I'd do anything, to keep the guy happy. And I and it turned into, me exploding eventually. So
Yes.
apparently, when you keep everything inside and you don't let it out in little tidbits, it turns into a massive explosion, which, to whatever person who is exploded upon, it seems like it comes out of nowhere, which is, it's a very unhealthy way to live. It's uncomfortable. And that was a big lesson too, just telling people what I need, or even saying no, um, to a guy, like, not changing all my plans for him. You know what? I am busy that night. I'm not changing everything for him. He can wait for me. I have friends. I have my own life. So that was a big thing. And nobody wants to be with somebody who's a yes man or a yes girl, or,
Mhm.
it you can sense it when somebody's just kind of kissing up to you, and I'm like, I think that's me, and I'm doing that. And I need to stop doing that. And people, my friends who I'm real around, they really enjoy me. They're just, I needed to learn to transform that into the dating Meredith so that I was authentic.
I
Um,
love that. Wait. I want to extract something that you said. I don't even know you realize you said it, but so powerful. When you said, I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was, where you would be holding all these things in. And it was like this anxiety that you would constantly have. And here's the thing about people pleasing and not speaking your truth is that it's almost like an oxymoron, right? Because you're thinking you're avoiding the discomfort, but in effort to avoid the discomfort, you're creating it because you're holding everything inside and holding back. And I think that's really important for everyone to hear, because so much of what we try to avoid is already happening, right? And I think that's what
mhm.
you kind of were getting, is that, wow, like I'm not happy. I'm doing all this, like the dancing monkey thing, trying to please everybody and getting the guy to like me. Right?
Right.
So I don't know if
Well,
you want to
you
talk
build
more.
up a fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even my fear of talking on the phone, I have a fear of, speaking my mind, or I had. I mean, I'm getting over it, obviously. But so it's like it takes practice and it's uncomfortable. So I think that the first few times, and it was kind of based on experiences in my childhood, I just thought if I said, I wasn't allowed to feel anything. You just kind of had to be quiet, you're a kid, whatever. But I realized that, yes, it's uncomfortable, but 99% of the time, the other person is going to hear you and say, oh, okay, da da da, and accept it and be okay with it. It was even just little things. I think I was sharing with you. I moved into this house in this really busy neighborhood, and people were driving me crazy. Sorry, neighbors, you're not going to listen to this. But but they this house is a historic home, and everybody in the neighborhood had been in it. It was a history museum before, so everybody's talking to me constantly. And this goes with the dating thing too. It's everything. It's like not having boundaries. And I realized I just have to say I can't talk to you right now. And all of that was like part of the work that we did together. It was me just telling people no, or yes, but not until Friday at 5 p.m. And I was so used to just saying yes to everything. Yes, yes, yes. And it was exhausting. I was exhausted. Um, and one other thing that I did want to mention too, that you helped me uncover, I like a really huge thing for me, was that this people pleasing behavior that I have, and not stating my boundaries kind of rolled over into my work life. And I know last summer you and I were having coaching sessions, and you're just like, hey, you were like, something else is going on. What is it? And I was like, I was like, actually, thank you for saying that, because I had never realized the relationship between dating and a work relationship. But I'm a sales rep, and I sell, technology, and most of my clients are men. And I realized I had a very toxic customer. And it was almost like I felt like I was dating him and not stating my boundaries and not doing this. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of these, all of these things I'm working on, I need to apply to him. And that was such a game changer too, because after we talked about that, I had to make a very hard decision to fire this client and
I
walk away
so
from a lot
remember
of money.
that. I'm glad you're
It
talking
it
about this. Yes.
it freed up my soul. I'm not kidding you. It was such a drain to me, and giving up money, as we all know, we're like, hard worker, your money is your livelihood, and it was scary for me to do that. But I honestly think that realizing that all of these little things go together, being, you know, the work thing was huge. Once I got rid of that customer, and I had a boundary there, and it opened me up to have healthy relationships. It was crazy. It changed my life. And that's when I started drawing in good people. That
I so remember that moment, and as hard as it was, and it just shows like toxic relationships can show up everywhere and anywhere, and what's evident in one area of your life does leak into other areas. And it's not until you
mhm.
let go, till you allow yourself to open up to new possibilities, new energy, all of that. Because to me, it was like you were breaking up with this guy, right? And
It
it
felt
was,
like that.
yeah, and I knew that, and so yeah, it was really amazing to see. I remember the emails and the messages I got afterwards from you, and you were like, "Oh my God, I feel like a free woman."
I was like, this huge weight's off my shoulders. What do I do with my life now?
Yes.
Yeah. But I was like, now I can date because,
Yeah.
nobody wants to go out with somebody that's constantly complaining about, work, or this person at work is doing this and that. And I was like, oh, now I'm happy. And now I can, and that's part of it too. You always talk about being fun and flirty and being light, whatever. If you have so many heavy things going on, sometimes you have to clear that stuff out of your closet in order to be, to get better at dating and getting out there. And that lightened my load. It made it possible for me to go out and not complain about work the whole time, and to, start focusing on myself. Like, I just renovated this house. If I hadn't fired that customer, this would not have been possible. In fact, my managers were so excited that I had made that decision because they were recognizing it was becoming toxic. They allowed me the time to do it. And then I'm doing my passion. I'm doing things I love and drawing better people in. Yeah.
Amazing. And that was another fear that you have. I think often when we get scared to leap and make a change, we have all these stories in our head of what's going to happen. Like, you were worried you were not going to get the support, and so it
Yep.
keeps you stuck. And
That's
just,
right. You told me,
yeah,
Meredith, talk to your manager. You'll be surprised. And I was scared. I forgot about that.
yeah. And also, that's like kind of validation for yourself, and that you can
Hmm.
trust yourself to make good decisions, and that anyone who's not supporting you are not your people, or not your job,
Yep.
or not, like, you don't have to put up with that just to, try to avoid the conflict, because you were already
Oh,
in a conflict. Like, how much more could you have taken? It was so great to be. I also want to go back to the moment of the phone thing, because that was another thing you had mentioned that. And I love that we're doing a podcast now, and we're doing it on video. So those of you who are listening to this, you can also check this out on YouTube. Like, the phone thing, I also felt like was a breakthrough for you, because do you remember you were saying you so rely on the nonverbal cues of people that,
hmm,
again, your focus was too much. Am I pleasing this person? So I'm going to read the cues in order to modify what I say and how I interact and how I connect. And by taking that away, you had to learn how to just be you, and being okay with that, not relying on that. You want to talk more about that?
yeah. I mean, we worked on that for a while. And I think that, I think it stemmed from my childhood. And you brought
Yeah.
up hypervigilance, and I was, in a very kind of chaotic home. And so I kind of camped out and made sure, I got to check out what the brother's doing and the dad's doing and who's going to be,
Exactly.
exploding. So I had just kind of learned to do that. And it carried over, right? And so and I can remember being, I think that talking on the phone is intimate, right? And I'm sharing my feelings and I'm sharing what I'm thinking and whatever. And I was also scared of being judged. I think there's so many layers to it that, you're not going to like what I have to say. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to embarrass myself. And I just built up a weird fear. And so I would always, if I needed to go see a customer, I wanted to meet with them in person. I wanted to go have lunch. I wanted to stop by their office. I wanted to do this. And then the pandemic hits, and it's, Meredith, you need to talk to these people over the phone.
Mhm.
and I was,
Dun, dun,
I was like,
dun.
what?
Don't do
And
it.
it was uncomfortable. Not being able to read body language, and I still prefer to be in person if I can. Zoom's a lot better. I see your face and I know you and I'm comfortable around you, so that's an added bonus. But that was just, I think it went back to confidence as well, and being
Mhm.
so unsure of myself that, who cares if you make a mistake and say the wrong thing? Just say, oh, oops, I meant to say blah blah blah, like. But to me, everything's the end of the world. And I had a lot of perfectionist, tendencies. And I've been, I worked to let those things go.
Yeah, I think that's the theme as we're talking is so much of the letting go that happened with you and really being okay with you and just it's that self-acceptance like
Hmm.
huge. And so that I mean, it's kind of a good segue to hear where you are now. I mean, I don't even know about this guy. I just got the text from you, this adorable picture. You posted in our Love Academy group on Facebook. And so do tell, so what happened? So after you started really like feeling different.
Right. So I have notes. I may be referring to them right now. Um, so one thing that we had focused on was being an all or nothing dater. I did want to mention that. That had been one of
Yes.
my tendencies to like go on one good date and then I'm like, so we're in a relationship now, and I'd cling to them so hard. And I think that I just making yourself aware of things, the awareness. So, and I always, you say after I go on a date, like write down your feelings. And if you're ever questioning somebody, doing a cost benefit analysis, like there's so many different little things that I continued to practice, right? And the feelings thing is very important. So yeah, I just started taking things a little lighter. I, I at the end of 2020 still had some lingering, I guess, old habits. I have a tendency to go for younger guys who were not as established in life because to me that felt safe. Oh, I seem older and smarter and hopefully I can control them. It never turned out like that. The younger guys love the older women and I don't know, and if they think you have money, sure, whatever. I don't know what they were thinking, but they were not thinking I want a relationship. So there's other stuff going on. So I started realizing, ooh, why am I doing that again? Went out with a few guys that were
Mhm.
just not there for me. And I was like, nope, new year, 2021. I'm following I'm following the steps, whatever. Kim had given me. And I reread Why Men Love Bitches. Still like I know we always
Yeah.
talk about it, you're like, it's a little corny, but it reminds you that they need to earn you. They need to give to you. And for someone who's very independent and successful, and I love to do everything myself, I pride myself on it. Guess what? People love to help you. And renovating this house kind of forced me to need others because you can't do it yourself. And so I was relying on a lot of other people for help. And I just started being okay with accepting help. Even my girlfriends help because
Mhm.
I feel guilty. I still feel guilty asking for help. And so they're like, no, please, you're doing this whole house. Let us help you move or help you, or have a guy friend come over and help you put shelves up. And it was just little things like that, allowing it and then getting more comfortable with it. So just allowing men to give to me, I realized that I was very off-putting because I would not accept help. And that's some guys like are offended by that, they get
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
self-esteem by helping.
I
So
wanna just say something about that, and sorry to interrupt, but it's really important, is that and I think you and I talked about this, your confidence lived in helping. So by taking that part away felt really exposing and weird, and it's like, "Who am
yes.
I beyond being a helper?" And so
Hmm.
I think when you were dating the younger guys before, there was this sense of, "Well, I can take care of them." It's
Oh, sure.
subconscious, right? Like it's you don't realize it, but there's this like kind of confidence that goes with that until it doesn't, like until it
Right.
doesn't work.
Let me
And
be your
so,
job coach and
yeah,
money. It's
so I love
fine.
that you're
Yeah.
talking about the whole like receiving end of things. So, okay, continue on.
Yeah, I had and I hadn't been given to honestly in so long. I had built a shell around myself, a self-protective shell of I will just do everything myself. And then I was like, haha, look at me. I have power tools and now I can do it. Like
Yes.
all of my girlfriends are like, Meredith, are you a dude? I'm like, no, I just do everything myself. So I started backing out of that, allowing people, finding my feminine, because yes, I can be. Yes, I look feminine, but sometimes I can be the guy, or be more masculine rather. And so trying to look down at some of my notes. So I started dating healthier this year, and dated a couple of nice, um, kinder, softer, more giving type men. And I dated one for about a month and a half or two. And that was the first time that I got in years that I'd gotten this compliment. But he said, like, yes, Meredith, you're very pretty and you're really nice to look at on the outside. He's like, but I love you for this. And he would pointed to my head, to my brain. And he's like, you're one of the smartest, nicest, funniest people I've ever met. And like, just having somebody be able to say that to me, it meant so much to me, because as much time as I do spend on my hair, my makeup, I deep down, I really want to just be loved for who I am, which is this dorky, kid who read books and was in band. And that little girl's still in there, and man, that just made me feel so good. I was like, thank you so much. And I was like, this is what I want, out of a relationship. I want somebody that I can share feelings with, and not be so focused on, that the outside, because that will only last so long. You can attract guys, but that's not deep. So fast forward to now, and the gentleman that I am with, I had met him in 2009, and we were both very attracted to each other. May have kissed him just once. But he had just started dating another girl at the time. And we became friends on Facebook. I think that's when Facebook had just started. So I had honestly been friends on Facebook for that long. And his, relationships came and went or whatever. And in 2013, I posted on Facebook that I needed a roommate. I had a finished basement in the house I was renting. And he said, Meredith, hey, I live really far from my job. Your house is near where I work. Would you be interested in having me as your roommate? I have 2 big dogs, whatever. And I'm like, I have a kid. So we both have our own children.
Yes.
So he actually lived with me back then, but I had a boyfriend, and I had kind of put him in the friendship bucket, right? Like,
yeah,
he was friendship.
mm-hmm.
And he's very tall. So I was like, friendship plus he can change light bulbs for me. So there was like benefits. Right. And I needed somebody to do man things around the house. So he's my roommate. And then I see like he's really good with my son, and he takes very good care of his dogs. And anyway, I ended up buying a house after that. And, I hadn't seen him for a really long time. We catch up like every 2 years maybe and just go grab dinner. But I have always been dating somebody else and never took him seriously. Well, fast forward to now, and he's like, the only reason why I messaged you about being a roommate is because I was hoping that we would get together.
Oh,
and I'm like, I had no idea. And he's like, I've always known the real you, because there were some things that transpired when he lived with me, and I helped him in ways, but I also had to be very strict with him in ways, because he had done something that, he regretted later. And I, had to lay down the law and do this and this. He's like, I always think back to that time that, you told me how it was, and it made me a better person, and I'm a better person for it today. And he's like, I always just watch you from afar on Facebook. He's like, you're the longest crush I've ever had. So I'm like, how can I not see if something's there? So our first date, we decided to go paddle boarding, and it was a group, so it was really fun. And I don't know, fun. It gets you outside your head because you're doing something physically active. And it was just like, I don't know, things had changed. He's older now, he's mature, he had started his own company. He's really excited to tell me about it. And I just looked at him in a totally different way. And then at the end at the end of the day, I was like, I think I want to kiss him now. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, that's where I am now.
wow.
And he tells me every day too, you're such a dork, but that's why I love you. Like,
Oh.
because he recognizes that I am a dork, and that's cool, and he likes it. And he's he thinks he's a dork, but he's actually more the cool guy. Which is, the dorky girl kind of always wanted the cool guy. So I'm like, oh, look, I finally have my own cool guy. But he's actually very sweet and vulnerable. And I think
Mm.
that's what's been um, the most interesting part, is because I had my own idea of him in my head, and that, and of men in general. Men don't have
Yeah.
feelings or won't share their feelings. And he's like, I've shared things with you that I wasn't comfortable sharing with anyone else, and I think it's because I've known you for so long. And he's like, and you've shared things with me, and I always thought you were perfect, but you're not. And he's like, but I actually like you more when
Mm.
you share your imperfections with me, because that's real. And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I'm not perfect. I don't like, I don't want people to think that, but it's just like, me being fake around guys for so long, and being conflict avoidant. Like, I think I told you in my text, like, I just kind of, he thought it was funny because I stand my ground, as far as like setting boundaries and things like that. And I think that I'm able to do it with him because I just know who he is as a person. I've known him for so long. It's much easier for me to be like, no, yes, no, but
Right, right, right. It's
before I
easier to
just
be
get walked
you.
on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can be myself.
I think that that's the biggest thing I'm hearing that's different than all your other guys, is that not only are you expressing yourself, you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but really be seen. I mean,
Yeah.
inside and out for who you really are. And he loves it, every part of that. And and you're really finally getting it, that I mean, that was you all along. It's just like you finally allowed someone to really see that. And because of that, it's a deeper connection and a healthier one. Oh my
Mhm.
God. This is so exciting to hear. Yeah, I keep smiling as you're talking. I wish I could just like keep talking to you. But I was wondering, because it is different now. What would you say some of the like major takeaways are for you? And then, like, people who are maybe thinking about coaching or doing something for themselves,
Mhm.
like, what would you say to them? Like, how has this really helped you?
I cannot say enough about how much it's helped me. And to summarize it would be minimizing it. I just, oh, um, I really felt like I was never going to find anybody, and that I was so broken that I wasn't capable of it. And um, I would say that the coaching has been priceless, and you are just such an understanding and positive person, and easy to talk to. So now I don't even know what I'm supposed to be answering. What? what?
You're answering perfect. Well, and I
Okay.
know there's
Yeah.
always like that fear, when you're first picking up that phone, or think like, how can I get out of my own way? Like, how can this really
Right.
help? What would you tell somebody to like, if they're scared, like they don't
Yes.
know if they even want to change because it's just all scary, how you got
True.
over that
True.
fear?
Um, yes. So I will say that, I think I had pawned it off on the other. Oh, I'm just meeting so many terrible guys. And I see my girlfriends doing that.
Mhm.
And so whenever I have talked to a couple of them about coaching, which I have, and the ones that I have talked to are not ready yet, and I see it because they're in a different stage. But it's usually they're not ready to own it yet, or own their responsibility in it, in the way that their relationships are unfolding. And once you start seeing that you're in control of you, you're not in control of the guy, you have something to do with this, then all you can do is just keep making those little steps. And that's how I try to tell people. I'm like, I know it sounds like a lot of work. Like, why am I going through all this work? The guy's not going to go do this. I'm sitting here, and I'm like, men go get coaching too. But a lot of girls just think, well, I'm doing. I'm like, well, you know what? It's gonna make your life so much easier, because if you open your eyes up to your tendencies and your patterns, then you can walk away so much sooner from some guy that's not serving your your best needs. So to me, I was ready. I was at that point where I honestly felt like I knew nothing. And so I needed someone who had the information to help me along. And I would say that change is possible. You just have to start forming new habits. And I think journaling and keeping track of everything, and talking to you on a periodic basis, and feeding your brain with the right stuff. But it's well worth it. I mean, I can't even imagine going back and not having done it.
Oh,
So thank you, Kim.
Oh, gosh, you're so
Don't
welcome.
make me cry. I will cry.
I know I'm gonna start crying too. And I love that you are crying, because it's kind of meta to what we're talking about. Like, just to point out that you actually started this podcast in a feeling. You said, I'm really nervous and anxious, and you're ending with a feeling. And you said feelings throughout this whole entire episode. And I'm just so proud of you, because like, I think everyone else now is really feeling you too, and can relate to so much of what you're saying. And knowing that if you can do it, so can you listening. And,
Yes.
it's like you said, the power is within you. I mean, that to me, like, you can't change those external factors. And you really are a perfect example of that. You did the work. I just remember you doing every single homework assignment that I gave you. You wanted to learn, you absorbed it, and you practiced it. So I'm just so happy for you. And please, like, continue to be in touch with me. I want to, like, get more pictures, throughout your journey. And no matter what
Of course.
happens with this guy, I told you this before we pushed record, your success lies within you, because now you have you. Right. So,
Yes.
I mean, I think it's awesome that you have this amazing man in your life and you attracted that. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you are your own success story. So
I love it. Thank you so much.
thank you, Meredith. And thank you for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient, and I'm your host, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com, to see more ways I can help you learn how to date and find love. And you can hop on a call with me, just like Meredith did, by clicking on the link in the show description. And who knows, maybe you could be the next success story on my podcast after your first call. So remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.